Trump's claim of absolute presidential immunity, a direct challenge to the rule of law. Donald Trump's recent assertion that he believes he can break any law he wants as president mirrors, and even surpasses, Richard Nixon's infamous claim, "When the president is it, that means it is not illegal." While Nixon's Watergate scandal led to his resignation, Trump's legal battles have taken a different path. He is actively fighting multiple indictments while running for president again. His claim of near-total presidential immunity raises serious constitutional and political questions, with potentially historic consequences. How this compares to Nixon. Nixon's Watergate scandal, 1972-1974, the precedent for presidential accountability. Nixon was implicated in a cover-up of the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate complex. When confronted with mounting evidence, Nixon attempted to invoke executive privilege to withhold crucial White House tapes. In United States v. Nixon 1974, the Supreme Court ruled that Nixon must turn over the tapes, reinforcing the idea that the president is not above the law. Facing near-certain impeachment, Nixon resigned before he could be removed from office. Trump's legal battles, a push for expanded presidential power. Trump faces multiple criminal indictments, including charges related to election interference, the mishandling of classified documents, and his role in the January 6 Capitol attack. Unlike Nixon, Trump is not stepping away from politics. He is actively using his legal troubles as a rallying cry for his 2024 presidential campaign. His legal team has made an unprecedented argument that a president should be immune from prosecution even after leaving office. This claim directly challenges previous Supreme Court rulings that affirmed limits on presidential power. The bigger implications. Legal precedent. What if the courts accept Trump's argument? If the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump's claim of broad presidential immunity, it would set a dangerous new precedent for executive power. Future presidents could commit crimes while in office without fear of legal consequences. Use government agencies to target political opponents without accountability. Claim immunity even after leaving office, effectively making the presidency a position above the law. The framers of the U.S. Constitution never intended for a president to be a king. The Constitution includes checks and balances to prevent any one branch of government from becoming too powerful. A ruling in Trump's favor would severely weaken these checks. 2. Democracy at risk. The threat of authoritarianism. Critics argue that Trump's stance on immunity is not just about his legal defense. It reflects a broader authoritarian mindset that threatens the democratic foundations of the United States. If a president can break laws without consequence, the U.S. risks becoming a dictatorship in all but name. Democracies function on the principle that no one, not even the highest elected official, is above the law. Warning signs of authoritarianism. Undermining the justice system. Trump has repeatedly called the judicial system rigged, and has suggested that he would use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies if re-elected. Disregard for elections. Trump's refusal to accept the results of the 2020 election and his efforts to overturn them show a willingness to ignore democratic norms. Centralization of power. If presidential immunity is upheld, future leaders could consolidate power and weaken the role of Congress and the courts. The Republican Party's shift. Then versus now. During the Watergate scandal, Nixon's own party ultimately held him accountable. Key Republican leaders, including Senator Barry Goldwater, told Nixon that he had lost their support, leading to his resignation. Today, the Republican Party is largely rallying around Trump despite his legal troubles. Instead of pushing back against his claims of absolute immunity, many GOP leaders either defend him or remain silent. Why the GOP's response matters. Erosion of party principles. The Republican Party, once the party of law and order, is now defending a leader who claims he is above the law. Normalizing presidential overreach. If Trump's legal theory is embraced by the party, it could permanently alter the role of the presidency. Future GOP leaders could follow suit if Trump succeeds. Future Republican or Democratic presidents could exploit the same immunity argument to consolidate power. The Supreme Court's role. A defining moment for American democracy. The U.S. Supreme Court will play a crucial role in determining whether Trump's claims of immunity hold up. Possible outcomes of the court's ruling. The court rejects Trump's claim, upholds rule of law. Trump would be subject to prosecution, reinforcing the principle that no one is above the law. Future presidents would be held accountable for crimes committed while in office. The separation of powers and constitutional checks would be reaffirmed. The court rules in favor of Trump, expands presidential immunity. Presidents would gain near total immunity, allowing them to break laws without legal consequences. The balance of power would shift significantly toward the executive branch, weakening democracy. Future presidents could use the ruling to justify abuses of power. This decision could be one of the most consequential Supreme Court rulings in U.S. history, with long-term implications for how the country is governed. Conclusion. A defining test for American democracy. Trump's claim that he can break any law he wants is not just political rhetoric, it is a fundamental challenge to the American legal system and the democratic order. If the courts reject his claim, it will reinforce the principle that the president is not above the law. If the courts rule in his favor, the United States could see a dramatic expansion of presidential power, setting a dangerous precedent for future leaders. Regardless of the outcome, Trump's argument has already reshaped the political landscape and raised serious questions about the future of democracy in the U.S. Would you like a breakdown of the key legal cases currently pending against Trump and how they could influence this issue?